Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Scully,
Yes?
marry me.
I love you and I like you.
I love you and I like you.
I love that woman. I love her more than sharks love blood.
I love you.
You don't.
Hello, I'm Tristan Riddell,
And I'm the girl.
and this is Nerd Nuptial episode 130. If this is your first time listening, we are a married couple looking at life through a nerdy lens. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic
Good.
because we are talking about some Star Wars today. And what did we watch today?
We watched Star Wars.
That's right.
A New Hope.
Well, actually,
Well, it wasn't technically A New Hope when it came out.
no, and we watched the theatrical
Because we
edition.
watched the theatrical edition. So
Which
it
is
did
hard
not
to find.
say that.
No, but it was fun watching the theatrical edition,
Yeah.
the original edition, the one that came out in 1977. And so it kind of got us into a 1977 state of mind, a Star Wars state of mind, if you will. And coming out this year, later this year, in 2019, I believe November of 2019, Disney Plus, Disney's own streaming service, is coming out. And this news broke about a month ago, maybe a little bit more, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
probably a little bit more.
And we didn't talk about it then, well, maybe briefly, but we want to talk about it a little bit more in depth today, but mainly the Star Wars aspect of it, since Disney now owns everything. And one big property of that being Star Wars. And so they're coming out with 2 live action Star Wars shows, which we've never gotten before. Not live
Yeah.
action.
Right.
We've gotten cartoons, we've gotten CGI, and of course we've had live action movies, but not live action television format. And so the first one is called The Mandalorian, starring Pedro Pascal and executive producer Jon Favreau. And it takes place after Return of the Jedi, but before Force Awakens. So, like, we haven't spent a lot of time in there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Pedro Pascal, the only thing you and I have seen him in was Triple Frontier
On Netflix.
on Netflix. And,
He's a part of Game of Thrones cast.
yeah,
right?
but
Or was-
we don't watch Game of Thrones. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table. And I'm just fascinated to see something take place after Jedi.
Yeah, and I think it's smart to do something with like there is no known character that I know of.
Yeah.
At least from the description that they've described. So it feels like safe territory because you're not gonna, I don't know, mess up a character that's beloved or something like
Yeah.
that. Like I think that's a smart move on their behalf.
Like Obi-Wan's a hunter now or something like that.
Something weird where we're like, no, that's not the way it should be.
And so that's going to be available upon launch. And on the second year of Disney Plus, they're coming out with an untitled Cassian Andor series. And Cassian Andor was the guy in Rogue One, like the lead guy in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And so obviously it's a prequel because everybody died in Rogue One.
Right. Spoiler.
And Alan Tudyk is coming back
For K2SO.
for K2SO, and so that'll be interesting. Like, we weren't the biggest Rogue One fans. I mean, we really liked the third act. I mean, who didn't?
Right. But, I mean, we didn't feel super attached to the characters at all.
No, not really.
So, but again, like, we don't know a super ton and we're not super connected to that character. So that's probably safe again.
Right.
That you have a character that you're dealing with that you just can build on. And we didn't get to see him for very long.
No, and I think it was a character I definitely wanted to know more about, and more about his exploits, because obviously we saw his last one, and being a rebel rogue, like a rebel spy,
Right.
can be very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
having a thriller of a TV show should be pretty fun. And so there's a rumored third live action show that's going to be coming, and we don't know what it is. So I thought that it would be fun if we talked about what we'd like to see
Yeah.
in that, because when it was announced that Disney Plus was coming out, like, everybody was just like, well, like, how much is it going to cost? Because it's going to have all of Disney's back catalog.
Right.
And so they could charge $20 a month if they wanted to. They could charge $15 like
Well, don't say
Netflix.
it out loud. They might hear you.
But instead they're going for $6.99.
Yeah, that's smart.
That's such an amazing price. Now, obviously, they'll up it as the years go, just like Netflix
and then we'll
did.
end up paying that much, but then it'll be part of our lives, and we won't be able to say, no, I can't pay that.
Because besides the whole Disney library, now that they've bought Fox, they're going to have every episode of The Simpsons. They're going to have, it's going to be the exclusive streaming source for like Captain Marvel, Endgame, Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker, and Dumbo and Maleficent and everything like that. And also, like, there's some like 3 Marvel live action TV shows that are going to be coming out, like one with Wanda and Vision, one with with Falcon and Bucky.
Okay.
Some odd pairings.
Will they get the actual actors?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And there's a
Okay.
Loki show coming too.
Oh my God.
I know. But because of Endgame, they have like a backdoor
Okay.
of Loki coming back, even though he died in Infinity War. But we'll see.
Okay.
I don't think that's due on launch. I think that's a couple years from now, maybe a year from now. I'm not quite sure. But
Okay.
you got all that content. So they're bringing some premium actors. They're bringing some premium content. And it was way more exciting than Apple's streaming service announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little... wah, wah.
And so, yeah, okay. So let's get into it. Let's talk.
Okay.
Live action TV show. Have you ever thought about a live action TV show, Star Wars TV show before?
Oh, I'm sure when I was 12. Absolutely.
What did you want when you were 12? Like, what did you imagine? Like Han and Leia married and having
Oh,
kids?
yeah,
And
100%. Because those were like the books that I read as a kid, was all about like them having kids and stuff like that. So like them going on adventures with their kids. That was what I wanted. And that's what like the kind of books that I would read was like those kind of things. So like they had twins and they had one boy, and the boy was the one with like the powers, but the other, like the twins were really like boy girl twins, but they were like super really like good fighters and stuff like that. And it was really fun. It was like, you know, and they were super like cheeky with each other, like Han and Leia, and that's like what I loved. And yeah, like I remember reading those books and wanting that kind of thing. But as an adult, I don't want them to tamper with any characters that already exist. I think I made that pretty clear when I was talking about like the Mandalorian. Like I feel like they have just decided to ruin some characters in the new version, like the new
movies.
Yeah, the new movies. So just leave them alone. I think I'd rather see something in the same universe, like the Mandalorian is doing, where we don't tamper with anything, but we just are in that universe and enjoy where we are.
I think a lot of people have said that Star Wars, especially the sequel trilogy Star Wars, suffers from small world syndrome, where everything's connected, everybody who you've seen before comes again, and you go into a planet, all of a sudden it's this dude that you saw last movie, you know, like it's that kind of thing.
Right.
And so the Mandalorian feels like an exercise in expanding that.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like it's not centered on a Jedi. It doesn't have
C-3PO and
C-3PO.
R2.
Oh my god.
R2-D2.
I'm so done with C-3PO. It doesn't have any of that. And actually, like, since you said like leave characters alone, that makes me think of the new Star Trek show coming out this year, Star Trek Picard.
Right.
Like, that's what it's going to be called now.
Yeah.
And when it was announced that they were going to do a show centered around Jean-Luc Picard, my first thought was, you can only screw it up.
Yeah.
You can only screw it up.
And that is like a huge fear, right? That, okay, I don't know. I think there's something to it where leave the imagination to imagine where Picard would go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, people love these characters so much that why wouldn't you want to give them more? So I understand it, but it also really scares me when they decide to do that. So I don't know.
I know, it's terrifying.
It really
it's
is.
absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
As I've said many times before, I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing.
I'm not.
Like, I'm pretty good at, like, if Star Trek Picard sucks, I'm like, it's all right, because we have his adventures on the Next Generation, and that goes unchanged, you know. So we'll see. But yeah, with the Cassian Andor show, like, sure, you know, like a prequel to Rogue One. I'm not jazzed for it, but it could be good.
Yeah.
I'm not like disappointed, like, oh, it's gonna suck. I'm just like, oh, sure, let's see how it is. With Mandalorian, because it's their launch show, like that is the show that is anchoring the network. That is the show that we're just like, boom, this is what we're promoting.
Right.
This is the show that it's kind of like it's like Netflix and House of Cards. It's not the same, not a 1-to-1 because House of Cards didn't start Netflix,
yeah.
but it was definitely the show that was known for Netflix, like Netflix and House of Cards.
It's really interesting. I feel like that they would go in that direction with the Mandalorian, because I feel like it's one of those things where like you kind of have to be a Star Wars fan to even know what a Mandalorian is.
Yeah.
So it's a
true.
little risky, but not, because they know their base and they know that like, you know, like, I mean, I know that Boba Fett wasn't a Mandalorian, but like the fact that everyone like always was interested in Boba Fett, it kind of is fan service that like you would even make a show about a Mandalorian.
I think it's that visual cue.
Yes.
It's that visual like, oh, he looks like Boba Fett, but he's not Boba Fett.
Right.
And even your casual Star Wars fan is just like, ooh, love that armor. You know, like most overrated character in history.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it's surprising that they wouldn't use a well-known character or like try to give backstory to a well-known character.
Yeah, you think that like, and that's all that Marvel is announcing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, okay, hey, you know, here's some side characters: Falcon, Bucky, and Wanda and Vision, Loki.
Right.
Like, it's not like there's the Captain America show or the Black Widow show or the Hulk show or anything like that. It's all these side characters, but we all know who they are.
Right.
And we have no idea who the Mandalorian is.
Exactly. So I think there is something beautiful about that they can form their own base of fans based on what they're producing versus the history. Because, I mean, they are in a somewhat of a box because of where the timeline is. And I think that, you know, hopefully they don't do like a whole Discovery thing where they have to kind of like retcon like their technology of like, well, we can show this kind of cool technology, but then we have to like explain why it's not the same way in Force Awakens. Like,
well, that's interesting that you bring that up, because I think that's an inherent Star Trek problem. I don't think Star Wars has that issue
because they stay true to their aesthetic.
That very much so.
Okay.
Yeah, because Star Wars stays true to its aesthetic.
They definitely have in their movies.
Like, look at Rogue One.
Yeah.
I mean, Rogue One did a fantastic job of showing you technology and interfaces and monitors and computers and everything like that were reminiscent of 1977, but it didn't look out of place. I think they did a great job that way. And with The Mandalorian, they said that they're going to be using models for their ships, for their special effects. That's amazing. And like Jon Favreau said, he's like, we're going to try to do a New Hope level style of special effects and production.
Which is fantastic.
Like, my knee-jerk reaction was, I was like, well, okay, good for you. That was in the 70s. That's 40 years ago. Yeah,
but nowadays, we have this technology that you can make things with green screen and just, you know, kind of phone it in some ways. Other times, of course, green screen is super like impressive, but there's something beautiful about the tactile, especially in the Star Wars universe. Yeah, I think that's.
Like, we just watched Alien the other night, and that had the same story.
Well, and exactly. I think like even as a viewer today, you're in awe of like the set design, and so, you know, creating the world physically, you really can't duplicate that a lot of times in
CGI.
Yeah, CGI, you can't.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And so that is exciting. Like, my knee jerk was almost aristocratic and snobby, and then I started realizing, no, that's genius. That's a great idea. I love that idea.
It's basically just, again, letting the fans know, don't worry, it's gonna feel like Star Wars.
It's kind of like when J.J. Abrams said, we're going to shoot it on film.
Right.
Gonna shoot,
so it's gonna feel.
We're going to shoot Force Awakens on film.
It's gonna feel right.
But to get back to it, it's an inherent Star Trek problem that focuses so much on technology. And we've talked about this before, where like in Star Trek, they give a lot of time on how things work. In Star Wars, things just work.
Right.
And in Star Wars, you have really advanced technology and you have really crappy technology. And it really all depends on who you are and where you are. Like you look at what the Empire has, they have the best of everything. You look at Naboo, you know, like everything is really clean and fun and cool. And then you look at Tatooine and everything's tattered and grimy. And so,
yeah, absolutely.
So you can have super, super advanced technology or really primitive stuff in the entire universe.
It's very true.
And so Star Wars has its own cheat because it's so diverse.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So what are you looking for in a third show?
Oh man.
So basically the only thing I really care about is not necessarily messing up the characters. Or is there like a certain location that you want to be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the main thing, it's funny because you talked about how when you were 12, you would love to have seen Han and Leia and their kids and like what you were reading.
Yeah.
But you didn't want that now. My 12-year-old self is the same as my current self.
Okay.
My 12-year-old self loved the Jedi Apprentice books.
Okay.
They're young adult novels.
You've talked about these so many times.
I've talked about them so many times. Like super young adult. You can barely call them a novel. It's like it's a kid's book.
Yeah.
It's a kid's chapter book.
Right.
And they're amazing. They're fun. And you could read them today and they're still really great. And it's about when Obi-Wan Kenobi turns from 12 to 13 and then he gets picked by Qui-Gon Jinn to be his apprentice. And their adventures. And so every book is just one of their adventures. And I love the Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan relationship. And so because you can't get Liam Neeson and like because you wouldn't be able to get Liam Neeson, you'd have to recast it.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm changing my mind. Like a young kid, a young Tristan would be like, yeah, let's do that as a live action TV show. Today I would probably say let's do a CGI TV show like Clone Wars or Rebels, like that.
Okay.
But for live action, I would love to see the Old Republic.
Okay.
Where the like one of the best Star Wars video games, one of the best video games of all time was Knights of the Old Republic that took place thousands of years before the Skywalker saga.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was basically the same technology though.
Well,
and it was the same feeling, but it was so separate from all the events that you didn't have the Empire, you didn't have the New Republic, and so
it felt different than the prequels. It was its own thing.
It was its own thing. It had the same vibe. It was still Star Wars, but you had tons of Jedi and you had tons of Sith. It wasn't just a master and apprentice, only two there are. It was you had Sith who had their own planet and their own fleet. And they were a force. So it was like a lot of Jedi, a lot of Sith, and it was like their own armies. And
that's interesting that you bring that up because one line that was kind of sticking out to me today when we were watching Star Wars 77 was that just like them constantly kind of belittling Darth Vader and Obi-Wan for like going to the old ways,
their ancient
religion, and like thinking of what did that look like, even like the spiritualism of, being a believer in the Force. Like if you go back far enough, it would be interesting to know like about the Jedi Temple and, stuff like that, like those type of things where like being a Jedi was more popular than it had become when we encounter it.
Because even in the prequel series, the prequel movies, you had the Jedi Temple, and you had thousands of Jedi Knights who were guardians of the peace and justice. But in the Old Republic, you had even more.
Right. And I think that would be really interesting. Maybe it would be too much for a television show.
I think it would be.
So maybe we're changing our minds again.
Maybe it'd be too expensive, I think.
Yeah.
It'd be too expensive.
Yeah.
But I would love to see it. And to be honest with you, like the storyline within Knights of the Old Republic is a great storyline. It's about a very powerful Sith, a Darth Revan, who was defeated in battle by some Jedi. And they're like, what do we do with this guy? Like, we can't kill him. Jedis don't execute. And so they're like, well, let's wipe his memory. Let's see if we can mold this guy into a good Jedi instead of a bad Sith. And they did. Well, they erased his memory. But then you're that character, you're like, who am I? What's going on here? And so as you progress in the game, every decision you make is either good or bad, light side or dark side. And so like, do you fall down the path of the dark side again, or do you go to the light side? Mm-hmm. And so it's about you discovering yourself and your powers. And
but is that too similar to what the stories we've already seen, like with Luke and with like Rey? I'm like saying from like a TV perspective.
About a story of a Jedi, are they going to be bad? Or are they going to be good?
You know, it's kind of, it feels like we've seen that.
No, I don't think so. I think there's always that wonder of like when you see Luke and when you see Rey, like you're like, are they going to be good? Are they going to be bad? But we all know that they're going to be good,
right? And
they end up being good. But I think with this one, there's much more ambiguity, and they throw a lot of situations at your character where you're just like, there's no good way out of this. Like, do I cripple entire civilization or do I help cause genocide? You know, like those types of questions. And you have an it's a built-in episodic storyline where it's just like, you have to find a star map. Like you have to find pieces of a map.
But again, you're describing a video game.
Yes, I am. I'm describing a video game. Right. But think about it from a modern television standpoint. That's your series arc. Like once you get to the end of the series or the end of the season or whatever, like you can put that map together by going to point A to point B to point C. Like, yeah, it's a video game, but modern serialized television is kind of that way. Look at season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. Like that's kind of what that was with the red lights and the red angel.
Yeah. I guess. I guess from my perspective, I'm like, it feels like, especially with like what they're choosing to do right now with like the Mandalorian and choosing like the Rogue One storyline of those, of that guy. It just feels like we're going outside of the Force, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that they won't have like people who are Force sensitive or anything like that, but
they will.
Of course they will, because that's what makes Star Wars, right? But at the same time, it feels like it's not as much of like a focus. I felt so like cheated in Rogue One when Forrest Whitaker's character wasn't as utilized and everything. And I thought like his character was going to be really cool, and it would have been really nice to see like his storyline more, other than him just kind of like making a walk-on appearance. Well,
we see him pop up in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Okay.
So I
didn't realize that.
Yeah, they show like that's where his character's from, is from the Clone Wars.
Gotcha.
And they elaborate a little bit more in Rebels, not much.
Okay.
So you do see a little bit. So you would want to see like them recast Forrest Whitaker or have more Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't care. Like, it just felt very rushed in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So from someone who hasn't watched those, it would be interesting to see that. But if they've already kind of done that in another format, then I don't really care.
One thing that I'd like to see, like, I feel a little lazy because, like it's good to come up with original content, but I keep coming back to like stuff I've seen before that I like in other forms. But one thing that I've always wanted to see was a Jedi by himself or herself after the fall. And so like, how do they find their way?
Kind of like Obi-Wan, like going into his
like,
hibernation type feeling.
Yeah,
right?
But somebody younger, like maybe maybe you see an apprentice who didn't finish their training, and they're like, okay, I've got like half of my training complete, and the Jedi temple is gone. The Jedi are killed. What do I do? Who am I? Am I still a Jedi? Do I need to find work someplace else? In Star Wars Rebels, Freddie Prinze Jr. Voices a Jedi named Kanan. And that's what happened to him.
Okay.
Like, he was an apprentice when the fall happened. And so you see him as kind of like a Han Solo character, where he's with a group of people who just kind of wreak havoc on the Empire and try to make a buck. It's kind of like Firefly.
Okay.
And
yeah,
it's actually a lot like Firefly.
Did they steal Firefly?
I'm just now realizing that. Holy crap. Kanan's like Malcolm Reynolds. Wow. I feel so stupid. But yeah. And so Kanan.
You like both.
I love both, yeah. And so Kanan is a Jedi who has like half his training.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lightsaber, but he doesn't bring it out because he doesn't want people to know that he's a Jedi.
Right.
But he's
No, that could be really interesting.
Yeah, I thought that would be interesting as like a prequel thing, like show Kanan
Mm-hmm.
before he hooks up with everybody you see
Right.
in Rebels. So basically, like a live action prequel to Rebels. Like, how
Absolutely.
did we get the people in Rebels?
Right.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that
And,
would be fun.
And heck, I mean, like he might be a little too old. I don't think so, but you could get Freddie Prinze Jr. to do it.
I think he's older than us.
yeah, he's older. But yeah. So maybe it's later in Kanan's life instead of early on. But then, I don't know, you cast somebody else and it's a young Kanan. I don't
Right.
I think
Right.
that would be a lot of fun to see because I love Jedi so much. I love lightsabers so much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want
get it.
a show with a lightsaber.
I totally get it. Like I do think that I am interested though in more of like the rebellion and how that like works or like whatever the First Order, like I am interested in seeing something without lightsabers, but that anytime it's a Star Wars show it's gonna pop up.
Gotta have a lightsaber
somewhere.
So would you want to do something like we're in the age of the anti-hero?
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, ever since
Yeah.
Breaking Bad came out.
Right.
Would you want to see something in that era, like in that kind of side? Would you want to see like a bad guy or like a person of gray in the Star Wars universe? Would you want to follow a Sith around? Would you want to follow, like, there was a lot, like the first live action show, I think, maybe first or one of the first, was supposed to be a show all about Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, I don't have a reason to want that.
Like, okay, here's the I feel the exact same way, but there was something like it was some ridiculous number. There was something like 50 scripts were written
About Palpatine?
And
like how he became the way he is.
How he became the way he is. And like everybody who worked on it was the same thing, felt the same way about you, like you and I. They were just like, why would we want to see that?
Yeah.
And then after they actually made the show, they wrote seasons worth of the show. Lucas is just like, let's do this. Let's get it all together now. Let's coordinate the show. Let's write the scripts now before we shoot it. And then once we shoot it, we can film everything that we could possibly need, and then make it interwoven between season and season. So basically, you write like 5 years, and then produce the show. And then everybody who worked on it was just like, yeah, like Palpatine is an amazing, complex, and beautiful character now, and
really,
it's going to be shelved forever.
Wow.
And
but it actually happened where there was like
these scripts
a 5-year
written.
arc of Palpatine.
I might be exaggerating the 5-year aspect of it.
Okay, but like
more than 1 year was written.
Okay,
Dozens
so they
of
actually
scripts.
knew where they were going.
Yeah. Lucas brought in a whole writing team and producers to make this happen because Lucas for a long time wanted a live action TV show, but they just couldn't make it affordable.
Okay.
Because he wanted it to look like the movies.
Yeah, you want it to be the best quality possible.
Yeah.
Like you want it to still be in your universe. Like I totally get it.
But it's just
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to see that show.
Right? And that's the thing, is that like because like my knee jerk was just like yours, like why on earth would I want a show about Palpatine? But then when you have people who are so in love with Star Wars like we are, and who wrote and like put so much effort into it and then said like, no, he's a beautifully complex character.
Well, and I think again that character we see, but not so much that like it would ruin knowing more backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's one of those unique characters that like you already know the destination. So, and we've already seen him in like the prequels, and then you've seen him, much later when, you get to Return of the Jedi. So it's one of those things where it feels like as long as they were true to the character, it feels like why not? Like why wouldn't we want to know the arc of like how he got to the way he is? So that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too, but it'll never happen.
No, that's interesting.
One thing is with the beauty of streaming is that you can do whatever you want. You can make movies, you can make TV shows, you can make miniseries, you can make event shows and everything like that. And one thing that I know I know people are going to be completely disagree with me, but Darth Maul was revived in the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Okay.
Like we saw a lot of him in the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And they brought him back, gave him some robot legs.
Okay.
And a lot of people thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever. And it was.
Okay.
But it was cool at the same time. And so we see him at the end of Solo. And so he's the leader of Red something.
Okay.
Sun, Red Dawn. Nope, that's not
right.
Nope, that is a Patrick Swayze movie. He's Red something.
We see him at the end of Solo.
We see him at the end of Solo, and he's like a gangster. Like he's the head of a huge like gangster organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to see like a 6-episode miniseries about where we left him at the end of Rebels and how he became that gangster. Because I would love to see this is not a good guy. He's evil. He's damaged. He's traumatized. He hates the Sith. He's not a Sith anymore. He's not Darth Maul. He's Maul.
Okay.
So let me rephrase that. He's Maul, not Darth Maul anymore.
Okay.
He hates the Sith, but he also hates the Jedi.
Right.
And he wants to do evil. He wants to punish the universe that punished him. And I would love to see a show that was unabashed, just following this guy where he is the protagonist and the antagonist at the same time. 6 episodes.
But that's all you need.
That's all I need.
Just a little mini-series.
Like a quick mini-series.
Okay.
I would love to see that happen.
Okay. Is there any other character that you can think of that you like really want to know more about?
R2-D2. I think he's a mystery. He's an enigma. We have no idea what he's really saying.
You're such a liar. You don't care.
No, I don't. At all. Not even a little. Ask your question again. It's like a mystery of the character.
No, just like a character that you're like, oh, I wish we knew more about that character, or but enough to like actually hold a series,
Yes.
Yeah?
Maybe. It could be a bad idea.
We'll just say it and I'll tell you if it's a bad idea.
Well, I hate this because I know his name, but because you asked me and I thought of it, I can't remember his name now. Is it Admiral Niet?
Oh, okay.
Is it Niet?
I think so.
It's the main guy. It's the main. It was like Darth Vader's right hand man in Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see a show about him. I just wanted to see more of him.
Okay.
Like I would love to get a novel about him.
I think we saw enough of him.
I don't need a show about him. I want to read a novel about. I really like that character. I really like that actor. I really like that character. No, it's not Niet. It's Piet.
Piet?
Niet. That's Russian for no. Is it Piet? Yeah, I think it's Piet. Admiral Piet. I don't know. Niet. I'm sure people were yelling at their iPods. Nobody has an iPod anymore. How about you? Is there any character that you wish you knew about more?
I really struggle with the idea of like I think that I'd love to see. I mean, I know that in recent years we've gotten more female characters. As far as like in the Star Wars universe, it's not just Princess Leia. We've got we had Rogue One and we have Force Awakens and we have a race storyline and everything like that. But it would be nice to. I mean, it's been a long time coming, so it wouldn't be a bad thing to have one where at least we have. I mean, I know that we have a female in The Mandalorian.
One female's name.
Only one female's name?
I'm pretty sure it was only one female's name out of like 8 guys' names.
Okay, then I could request to have something more than that. Yeah.
Maybe I might be wrong on that.
And I think like, since Rebels or Clone Wars have been so popular, like why not take one of those female characters and make them have a show?
Oh yeah, there's
like wouldn't that be really popular?
Sabine and Hera from Rebels are great characters, and honestly, like if they don't have Sabine make a guest appearance on The Mandalorian, then they're missing out because Sabine is a Mandalorian and she comes from like pseudo Mandalorian royalty,
right?
Not exactly royalty, but like,
but still, like, why wouldn't you have her?
Yeah, I mean, like she'd be young.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But that's totally okay. And it would be, I don't know, how young would she be? Not that young. I think it would work. And she's a great character. Like, there's so many times, like, we'll see some of her action figures out in, like, Target or something like that. Or
You
like
want to buy them.
I want to buy them because I'm just like, oh, I want Ripley to like her. I want Ripley to like her.
Right. You've said that to me.
And, yeah.
Yeah. And I just think that, like, why not? Like, why not give, something, I don't know, something that's already established, but we could see more of.
Honestly, like, we could have easily, and I would have loved it, like, if the Mandalorian was Sabine. Like, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Like, her backstory is so cool. She's the daughter of the head of a Mandalorian clan. Like, her mom is the head of a Mandalorian clan. And she leaves. Her brother's name is Tristan. And she leaves and she goes to the Imperial Academy. And she does some heinous things, and she regrets that. She leaves, like, she defects, and she's like, I can't believe I did these things. I was young, I was naive, I was stupid. I just wanted to get out of there.
Right.
And then she joined the crew with Kanan and Hera and everybody else, and just started wreaking havoc on the Empire. And she loves art. She spray paints, she tags things, like, whenever they go to a new location, she'll spray some of her own art. Which is
a fun idiosyncrasy to add to, like, yeah.
And she decorates her own armor. And so she's very colorful, she's very bright, she's sassy, but not in a stereotypical, like, two-dimensional way that they make female characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she's genuinely, she has a lot of depth, she has a lot of care, and so
we want to see that show.
We want to see that show. She's just a great character. And then you have Hera, who is a Twi'lek.
Right.
But she speaks basic English, like, whatever they call it in Star Wars, they call it basic, but which is very rare for a Twi'lek. And she's one of the best pilots in the rebellion. And she's the leader of the group. Yeah. Kanan's not the leader.
Right.
Like,
she is.
She is.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. And again, like, I understand that they already have a story, but we haven't. I think I'm okay with it because we haven't seen it in live action. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We haven't seen an actor play those roles.
A
physical actor. So, like, why not? I don't think it would bother me as much.
It's interesting that you say that, because we didn't see, like, a physical actors portray that. There is an episode in Star Wars Rebels that is all about Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine, older, fighting Darth Maul.
So that would be awesome to see. And
the thing is that I'm pissed that Star Wars Rebels had made that episode. It was a great episode.
But now it's done.
The story's been told.
Right.
I wanted to see that in live action.
So do you just want to see Rebels as, like, a live action?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't want to see Rebels as a live action.
Okay.
I think it would work. I think it would be cool. I think they left it on a very cool note where they had another journey to go on.
Oh, okay.
They had another mission at the end.
So could you see, like, a second season as a live action instead of redoing the first?
I could see a sequel show to it, but I could also see a prequel show.
Okay.
There's just so many stories to tell with Star Wars Rebels. And did I absolutely love Rebels? There were parts of Rebels that I really liked. It was kind of hit or miss, and there was some average things, but it was always entertaining.
Okay.
And it got better as it went on. And it's just, there's so much potential behind it, and I feel like we only got 4 seasons, and I feel like if the showrunners knew they were only going to get 4 seasons, that they would have used their time differently.
I understand that. Yeah.
And I think with this knowledge and where they left it off, it would be a very, very cool, interesting journey to take.
Well, even the fact that you were comparing it to Firefly, like, how many journeys could you have seen of Firefly? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, Firefly could have gone on forever if they let it.
Yeah.
You know, it could have gone on for a really long time because of just the nature of what they had going on. So if Rebels is that similar, then that would have really worked, right? As a TV show.
I kind of want to make you watch it now. Like, I kind of want you to see these characters and see these storylines.
Like, I know who those characters, because I've seen episodes here and there with you. Yeah. So I know who, like, the female characters are that we were talking about. But yeah, it would be interesting.
It would be a cool bedtime
Yeah.
show, I think.
It's a bedtime show. We have bedtime shows.
Because I own the first season, and I kept trying to see if I could buy the other seasons for cheap, but it was always like $90 for the whole show.
Oh my gosh.
But now we're going to get them on November.
There you go. November. It's all going to change.
So is there any other specific things that you'd want to see? Like, is there anything that you don't want to see besides like screwing up characters that we love? Like, is there anything specifically that you don't want to see?
I don't want to see an Endor show because
like with Ewoks and stuff.
Well, like we've already had those, like those 80s.
Those two movies, yeah.
80s, yeah.
One
like,
was great, one was garbage.
Right. I mean, it was like the one that I remember that was good. I remember it being adorable, but do we need to do that again? Probably not.
No.
Right.
No, we don't.
So I don't think I need that.
Would you? This sounds stupid even before I even said it. Like, would you want to see like a Wookiee show?
I'm pretty sure there is a movie out there, unless I dreamed it. Please, listeners, tell me, is there a Wookiee movie out there that I saw in high school? You weren't with me in high school, but there was a Wookiee. I'm pretty sure.
Are you thinking of the holiday special?
No, like there was a straight up movie I remember about Wookiees. Am I dreaming this?
You were dreaming that.
Are you sure?
Like maybe there was.
Do I dream in Wookiees?
Maybe there was something animated. Like a special or something? You know, you sure you're not thinking of the holiday special? Because like it was like Chewie met his family. There was a guy named Itchy. He had a weird helmet.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't cutesy. It was like a legit Wookiee planet.
No.
I
mean, there's Kashyyyk. You know.
I'm just dreaming in Wookiee.
Just dreaming about Wookiees walking carpets.
I guess so.
For me, like what I wouldn't want to see is, I don't know. I wouldn't want to see like Yoda's backstory. I don't need that.
No.
No. Like a young Yoda, you know.
Well,
13 years.
Yeah, I seeing him in the prequels is enough. Him like jumping around the place. That's about it.
I know this is. Would you? Oh, okay. What about recasting people we've already seen? How would you feel about that?
Well, you know how I feel about Solo, so no. Like, I can't deal with that.
Well, I mean, that's why I asked.
I think, okay, I have less of a problem with, like, for example, when they did that with Obi-Wan, you know, because we had Alec Guinness who's older to begin with. So having Ewan McGregor as a young, I was fine with that. But like if you were to go back and cast Carrie Fisher, that would just not be okay with me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So don't do that.
Don't do that.
You know, I think there are certain things that are like, don't touch them, and that's what I mean by these characters is like if you do recast, there's just a lot of room for error, unless it's someone who is just like, okay, we didn't see so much of them that we care.
This is hard
Yeah,
because I want this to happen, but then I don't want it to happen.
Is it a question of quality versus quantity, or do you think it's just really holding on to what we hold dear? Like, what do you think?
I feel like we were robbed of Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi. I feel like what we got in Force Awakens and The Last Jedi was a disservice to the character.
Yes.
I'm not burning torches, and I'm not, like, I'm not going to spit in anybody's face about it, but I don't think they did justice to the character.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get to see his temple.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see his school, his academy, whatever you want to call it.
Which would have been really fun to see.
We didn't see him mentor anybody. We just saw everything after the fact, and then they killed him.
Yeah.
And I would have, honestly, I'd be fine if they recast Luke Skywalker with a different actor, and we see him find his way in a post-Jedi Return of the Jedi world. Like, where does he go? What does he do? Does he become a teacher? Does he want to become a teacher?
Right.
Does he, now that he has defeated the Sith, does he feel like he has no purpose in life?
Right.
Like, he's like, I've brought balance to the Force. Mm-hmm. So what do I do now?
Well, it's like it's almost like that syndrome of a soldier from war, right? Like you have reinventing themselves. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So what would he like? You know, is he still Harold is a hero, or is there mixed feelings about it? You know, like, is he like trying to, continue the tradition that he was taught by Obi-Wan, or did he kind of just fall into teaching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I've seen online where some people have said that Sebastian Stan, the guy who plays Bucky, looks like Mark Hamill. And like there are certain times when he really does.
Really?
And I honestly, like, I feel like he's the right age for a post Return of the Jedi Skywalker. He already has a contract with Marvel. Like it works, people. Screw this whole Winter Soldier and Falcon show. Like, let him do that. Like, honestly, I would love to see something like that.
Okay.
Or Cassian Unknown. I don't know.
Okay. It's scary, but you know what? I think I could get down with that, because I think you are right. Like, they already screwed up.
Yeah. What worse could they do?
What else could happen? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you'd have to probably add in like Carrie Fisher's character, and you'd have you'd have to go with Leia and Han, and you would see the kids, and I don't know.
I think you could write around it. I think you could write around Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher. I really do. I think you could write around.
So it literally is just...
It's just Luke. Like, maybe they even say, like, oh, like, Leia messaged me, or, like, Leia sent Ben to them. And so, like, all those conversations happen off screen. They're referenced, but they all happen off screen. So you don't have to worry about it. That kind of thing. I think you could do it.
It's a little risky, but I am interested to see the Jedi training, like, of his school.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
I think that would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you want to see?
What do you guys want to see? We want to hear from you guys.
Absolutely.
What do you want to see? What live action, Star Wars show would you love to create or see? Or what do you not want to see? Do you like what we had to say? Do you think we're crazy with what we said? Go to thenerdparty.com/contact, select Nerd Nuptial from the drop-down menu, fill out the form, and it'll send us an email. And I just now realized we record this live, but we got a 5-star review, and I completely forgot about the guy's username. I think it was from the UK, but he said nothing but love for Nerd Nuptial is what he said.
Oh, okay.
And so we will mention you
next
week.
episode.
Next episode, we'll mention the username. So
thank you very much.
If you're listening right now and that's what you said, we apologize for not having the username. But we will talk about you next episode. Thank you so much. And you guys, like, if you like what we're doing, if you want to give us a review, if you give us a 5-star review, we'll mention you on the show.
And we'll actually
remember
username.
And so, like, go to iTunes and give us whatever review you want. But if you give us 5 stars, you get mentioned on the show. And we love doing this, and hopefully you love listening to us. If you want to listen to our back episodes, go to thenerdparty.com. And if you want to reach us on social, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find me personally on Twitter at the Insane Robin.
I love you.
I know.
Scully,
Yes?
marry me.
I love you and I like you.
I love you and I like you.
I love that woman. I love her more than sharks love blood.
I love you.
You don't.